At Citi Field in New York, the New York Mets play the Miami Marlins. And a pleasant good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to Citi Field. Gary Cohen, Ron Darling, Keith Hernandez with you as the Mets play the middle game of their three-game series against the Marlins. The Mets won their first two games. They've lost. Consistent over those 4 games has been the starting pitching. It's been magnificent the first time through the rotation.
Well, it really has, and you start with today's starter. Jonathan Neese was just brilliant on opening day. Dominant in the second start was Matt Harvey with those 10 strikeouts. When you think of Dylan G missing all that time last year, he was great in his start. And Jeremy Hefner did not have his control, did not have his best stuff, and was gutsy through 6 great innings. So the starting pitching is not a problem. Only 4 runs given up in 26 innings.
The other thing that's happened over these first 4 games is the Mets have homered in each game, and yesterday was Daniel Murphy with the opposite field 3-run homer.
Well, they wanted Murph, Terry Collins said, to hit with a little more power. And Murph, this ball right here, he knew it all the way. That's opposite field. That's a home run in the old ballpark. So Murph tends to take a little defensive swings with 2 strikes. They don't be afraid to strike out. Take a good, healthy cut. They want a little more power from him. That's a very good sign. And opposite field, too.
So the Mets have homered in each of their first 4 games, first time since 2006. Now they go back to John Neese for the start today. Opening day starters back to the mound as he faces Ricky Nolasco.
You know what I like about Jonathan Neese? It just seems like he gets better every year. Remember, he signed that big contract before the season last year. It was his best year with 13 wins and a nice first start.
And how about this? 21 straight starts now for Neese, 6 or more innings. And Nolasco, a hard luck loser on opening day to the Nats, gets his second start.
You know, he has not always pitched well against the Mets, but this is a guy, when he's been healthy, 6 out of 7 years, he's won in double figures. He's had as high as 195 strikeouts in a season.
So it's the Mets and the Marlins on another chilly afternoon in New York. Come on back. All the action coming your way this afternoon on SNY. In engineering, by Geico, by AT NYN, rethink possible, and by Choose Nissan today. For great offers on their most innovative lineup ever, shop at ChooseNissan.com. Guarantee access to the 2013 MLB All-Star ticket strips by becoming a Mets ticket plan holder today. The 2013 MLB All-Star game is coming to Citi Field this July. Call 718-507-TIXX or visit Mets.com/All-Star now. Here's your Mets upcoming schedule. You can listen to every Mets game on Sports Radio 66 and Sports Radio 101.9 FM. WFAN. Day game tomorrow, the final game of the opening homestand, and then the Mets embark on a 10-game road trip, 3 in Philly, 3 in Minnesota, Burr, and 4 in Colorado before they come home on the 19th. John Neese off to a flying start in his 2013 season after a strong close to 2012. Let's see what he does for an encore today. First pitch coming up. Discount Furniture, proud to be the furniture store of the New York Mets. David Wright, Ike Davis. It's an interesting pregame ritual, the flipping of the gloves.
Wow.
Maybe it has some hits in it for Ike. He could use some right now.
Well,
John Neese on the mound for the Mets this afternoon. He'll face this Hyundai starting lineup for the Marlins. Same unit as last night, except for the catcher. Miguel Olivo starts instead of Rob Brantley. Otherwise, it's the same lineup that erupted last night for 7 runs for Miami after they scored just 1 in their first 3 games.
well, most of those runs, of course, came after Jeremy Hefner left the game against the bullpen. You can see the start 1-0 for Neese as he won on opening day. Those are the numbers from Caesars Atlantic City. But even more important, Jonathan Neese does not walk anybody. His strikeouts are up, and he's getting better and better.
And we'll take a look at the Lexus Metsy defense. Buck behind the plate again. He's a workhorse back there. Neuwenhuis gets a start in center field. Baxter gets a start in right. The infield's pretty solid right there. We're going to see a lot of that over the course of the season.
Juan Pierre leads off. First pitch from John Neese is in for a strike. Pierre went 1 for 4 last night. 3 for 15 to start the season after a nice year for the Phillies last year.
A ball and a strike to Pierre with Polanco and Stanton to follow. For the Marlins, who got their first victory of the season last night. They were the last team in the major leagues to get their first win. Past Neeson into center field, and Pierre has led off the game with a base hit.
Well, Pierre last year with the Phillies had 63 at bats against lefties, and here's the pitch. Wants it away, and it is away, but not enough. Let's go with one hand. Just kind of slaps it up the middle. That's Pierre's game.
Still wears that hat underneath his helmet, as he always has. Here's Polanco, and he takes ball one. Polanco 3 for 5 last night, drove in a couple of runs. He had the biggest hit of the game for Miami. Turned a 1-0 game into a 3-0 game in the 7th inning after the Mets had opened the door with an error by Tejada. And East quickly falls behind him 2-0.
I remember when the players, or when I was a kid watching, they did one or two things. They wore the hat underneath their helmet when they went to the helmet, or they folded up nicely and put their hat in their back pocket.
A la Willie Mays.
Yes.
Pierre is a throwback player in a lot of ways, and that hat under the helmet is just one of those ways.
I can still visualize Willie Mays playing in San Francisco.
Yeah.
I can still just close my eyes and visualize him. He's such a great player.
Well, he had the hat folded in the back pocket running the bases, but Willie also would lose his cap chasing fly balls in the outfield.
He'd also lose it going first to third on a base hit, which he was very good at doing. He was extremely quick. What a player.
2-1, good hit and run count, but they don't play hit and run. Probably a good thing, because it's a pitch that Polanco probably couldn't have reached.
Well, I was thinking by the time in the 80s, most players had to wear a flap, but it was grandfathered in. If you hadn't worn a flap, you didn't need to. So both you, Keith, Mookie, and Gary Carter did not wear a helmet with a flap.
That's right. I'm sure Pierre's in motion. No, he's not. Wow.
3-2 now to Polanco. Of course, there was a progression of the rules. I mean, you didn't have to wear a helmet even batting until the 50s, and then you were allowed to wear a helmet at the plate, but then take it off on the bases, and so guys would fling the helmet away, put the cap back on to run the bases.
Then there was the skull cap, which was worn by Mazeroski, I believe.
The air runs, Polanco fouls it off.
I remember Bob Montgomery, who was the backup catcher in Boston. He used to wear just a plastic insert in his cap.
That was the skull cap.
Catching, you're talking about.
No, when he would hit. Before they had helmets, he would just wear it with a plastic inside the hat.
Because there was a time when catchers wouldn't wear helmets under their mask. They would just turn their hat around and flip the mask over that.
Flip up the bill.
The air runs. Polanco hits one to the left side. And David Wright makes the running toss for the first out of the game. Pierre now at second. Leather lung Jim Joyce has the plate today. He's the crew chief. Jim Wolf and Hickox and young Corey Blazer on the bases. Everybody in the ballpark can hear when Jim Joyce calls a strike.
Who was the guy in our day, Keith, the older umpire? He used to be about 5 feet behind the catcher, and he would have an emphatic strike call.
Dutch was one of the fine umpires.
Here's Giancarlo Stanton, who failed in his first 4 at bats last night, and then hit a laser beam 408 feet off the center field fence his last time up. He is scary strong. Just 2 for 14 to start the year. Greg Dobbs hitting cleanup on deck. Stanton 37 home runs last year and missed nearly a quarter of the season. Got to watch out for Pierre. He'll steal third on you as Stanton chases a high one, and that's been the Mets' strategy with Stanton. Keep it up and out of the strike zone.
He's got to learn to lay off that pitch. It's out of the strike zone, and he can't touch it. What did they say Yogi told Jeter when Jeter was swinging that high ball early in his career? And Jeter said, well, you swung at it, and he goes, yeah, but you can't hit it.
Yogi could. Yogi was one of the best bad ball hitters in history.
That's great.
That's the line in League of Their Own. Can't hit it, can't lay off it. Stanton fouls it back, still 0-2. Well, there's where Giancarlo Stanton ranks, both from his Mike days and his Giancarlo days over the last 3 years.
Too good of a pitch there by John on the 0-2 pitch.
Breaking ball hit in the air to right. And Baxter has it measured. Pierre tagging at second. And he's going to try it. And Baxter's throw well offline, and Pierre arrives safely. Now there are 2 out. As that pitch was thrown, Daniel Murphy had gone to cover the bag at second base for a possible pickoff play, but Mets not hurt by that.
Well, not a strong throw by Mike, and it's not going to get Pierre anyway.
It's interesting. He tried to prematurely put the crow hop in before he caught the ball so he wouldn't have to, but kind of flat-footed when he caught it.
So now 2 out. Pierre at third, and here's Greg Dobbs playing first base now with all the injuries the Marlins have had to first baseman. Logan Morrison coming back from knee surgery. He won't be ready till at least the middle of May, maybe later than that. And then Casey Coxman, who they signed to play first base, pulled a hamstring a couple of days ago, so he's on the disabled list. And Dobbs is the latest candidate. Had a good night last night with a home run and a sacrifice fly.
Well, they got a 3-1 count. Dobbs last night got the fastball off Hefner. Really the only blemish on Jeremy last night. Really threw a fine ball game.
1 run and 5 hits over 6 innings for Hefner, who took the loss because he left trailing 1-0, and the Mets never caught up.
A lot of pressure here on John Buck. They go with that curveball in the dirt to keep it in front of him with Pierre on third base.
0-2 to Dobbs. Pokes one the other way, a base hit, and that'll bring in the game's first run. So Pierre comes in to score. Dobbs with the RBI single. 1-0 Miami.
There's a head in the count, Ron. If you're going to throw it away, throw it off the plate.
You know, I mentioned earlier with Stanton, too good of a pitch, 0-2. The same deal here with Dobbs, trying to go away with the cutter. All right, is it on the corner? Yes, but what is the Dobbs in? He's in protection mode, just trying to put the ball in play.
Well, John Neese had not allowed a first inning run since before the All-Star break last year. That streak comes to an end. He got 14 straight starts without allowing a first inning run.
So for all those hitting coaches that say you don't have to change your approach with 2 strikes, here's an example right there. Something good can happen when you put the ball in play.
I mean, this is not hit very hard. It's off the plate, but he's 2-strike protection mode. He's more vulnerable inside.
And with Wright playing off the line, plenty of space between David and the bag. Good fastball by Neese to get ahead of Justin Ruggiano, 1-2.
I mean, there was a time when you were 0-2, it was automatic. If you got one under your chin, you got moved off the plate.
Here's the 1-2. Popped it up. Murphy flips the glasses down and puts it away to retire the side. But the Marlins cash a first inning run. Greg Dobbs with a 2-out RBI hit. Mets come to bat trailing 1-0. Start for Mike Baxter. He goes to the leadoff spot. First start for Kirk Neuenhuis, who had a nice looking hit off the bench last night. A little different look for Terry Collins' lineup today as they look to bounce back after a couple of losses against a frequent rival in Ricky Nolasco.
Well, Ricky Nolasco, you can see he lost that start in Washington. Pitched very well, but gave up those 2 home runs to Bryce Harper. He's a guy, he's got the franchise record of strikeouts, and he also has a game where he struck out 16. So you saw his numbers there presented by Toyota.
5th game of the year, and the Mets are using their 3rd different leadoff hitter. Mike Baxter gets it started and takes a strike from Nolasco. Now, Baxter profiles as a leadoff hitter. He had a .365 on base percentage last year, but in 12 starts in the leadoff spot last year, he hit just .217. Did a lot better both off the bench and further down in the batting order. And the curveball from Nolasco misses 1-1. And we've seen Nolasco enough to know that if he gets that curveball going early, he can be awfully tough.
Now, I saw a stat that Valdespin, when he leads off, the Mets are 0-3. But they're opposite with Baxter. When he leads off, they tend to win.
Oh, good change right there.
Of course, Baxter had that game in San Diego last year when he set a club record with 5 walks in a 9-inning game. We've seen the kitchen sink from Nolasco on the first 3 pitches.
Right.
And Baxter gets the curveball that somehow misses, and it's 2-2.
Kind of bent around the outside corner.
That's the first one you throw where the umpire goes, well, I'm not sure, and the catcher will go, you know, that's a strike, Jim, and you might get it later in the game.
Jams Baxter, and he manages to fight it off.
That's the one thing. You see the 88-mile-an-hour fastball, and that was a fastball inside, so he's trying to put something in there to get in on the extra, to get in on the hands of Baxter.
Well, think what he just did. He led him off with a fastball down the middle, a big high curveball, then he threw a changeup, then a backdoor curveball, and there that inside Greg Maddux fastball that he tried to surprise him inside.
On 2-2, Baxter swings and misses. Foul tips it on the changeup, and he hangs in there at 2-2. I mean, Ronnie, back in your day, and we see it a lot. We saw it with Matt Harvey earlier this week. Guys will pound with fastballs early in the game. Nolasco going in a very different direction.
Yeah, you treat the first time through the lineup until you get to the 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th hitter with, I don't know, less respect than you do later in the game. You really feel as though coming in, you can go right after and get him. Nolasco wanted that one.
Oh, boy, didn't he? This was a sharper little breaking ball, and it meant, oh, boy, it's close to take.
So now he's thrown 7 pitches to Baxter. 1 more to make here on 3-2. And he walked him. It's quite a job by Baxter. With Nolasco throwing everything he had at him, and Mike draws the leadoff walk.
We'll take a look at the Marlin defense, brought to you by Coors Light. Stanton has an arm out there in right field. There's no question about that. His 26 assists last year. They're kind of struggling at first base. Dobbs there at first base. A lot of injuries there. 2 youngsters up the middle, Hechavarria and Solano. Solano from Houston, came over from Houston. And Hechavarria came over on the big trade. That's a double R.
Just
you got to roll it.
Love it when you roll those R's.
From Toronto in that trade.
Here's Murphy, who hit the 3-run opposite field home run last night, and he takes the letter high strike.
You know, Gary, to go a step further about throwing fastballs early in the game, your pitching coach would instruct you, go after him, fastball, maybe one, you know, use your breaking ball, but go after him with hard stuff early in the game.
Nolasco pitched opening day against Washington, allowed just 3 hits in 6 innings, but 2 of them were Bryce Harper home runs, and with Strasburg on the other side, that was enough to beat him as he throws a couple of fastballs to get ahead of Murphy 0-2.
Completely different than Baxter. Came after Murph hard. All the kitchen sink against Baxter. Murph pounds him inside, gets ahead.
David Wright waiting next. Nolasco 12-13 last year, ERA just under 4.5, and the curveball gets Murphy, so he's disposed of on 3 pitches. And Nolasco, after the walk, fans Murphy for the first out.
Well, why throw a strike 0-2? See if the fish are biting, Ronnie.
A little different than what happened to Jonathan Neese in the first inning.
So 1 out and 1 on. Now David Wright, who has had quite a bit of success against Nolasco over the years. 63 career at bats against Nolasco. David's hitting .397 with 6 home runs. The 6 home runs are the most that any Met hitter in the club history has ever had against any one pitcher. I found that kind of hard to believe when I read that.
Yeah, with Strawberry and Kingman.
Exactly. You would have figured that one of them would have had more than 6 or as many as 6 against a particular pitcher, but neither one did, not as a Met.
And more teams, you know?
Yeah.
So it's...
And the curveball from Nolasco misses 2-0. But of course, Mets and Marlins play 18, 19 times a year, and so Mets have faced Nolasco quite a bit. This is his 23rd start against the Mets.
Piazza. I mean, all those guys, right?
Todd Hundley.
Yeah.
How about Kingman, for crying out loud? Oh, good curve. Nolasco had a good spring. I saw him pitch a couple times late in spring, and he had the command, so he's carrying it right through into the season here, obviously.
You wonder right now with Ricky Nolasco whether he's pitching to get out of town.
Yeah, you're right.
He's in the final year of a 3-year contract, and with the Marlins stripping down, he is certainly attractive trade bait as we work toward the middle of the season. Line center field, base hit for right. Baxter pulls in at second. So the Mets have 2 men on in the opening inning. They appeared to have 2 men on in every inning last night, but couldn't do a lot of damage against the starter, Alex Sanabia.
Good 2-strike hitting by David. Fastball away was meant to be in. See, he let go with one hand. That's keeping his shoulder, and he knew he made a mistake. He wanted to get that fastball in.
Well, that's what happens when someone owns you. You tend not to make the pitch you're supposed to.
So now Ike Davis, who's just 1 for 16 to start the season. That other Davis in Baltimore is off to a good start. Chris Davis, 16 RBIs in the first 4 games, major league record. Ike would trade right now. But he's up here with 2 men on, a chance to do some early damage with the Mets down 1-0. And he hits one the other way. Pierre closing ground, but it'll drop in for a hit. Baxter had to hold up. He'll stop at third, and the Mets have the bases loaded. So Ike Davis with an opposite field hit.
Take him any way you can get him here. See, that's a strike, and Ike has to reach for it. It's off the end of the bat. That kind of worries me a little bit. And Baxter here has got to play it safe. You read it pretty quickly, but you don't want to run yourself out of an inning. That ball's on the outside corner getting back to Ike, and he's yesterday too off the end of the bat. I mean, has he got that kind of coverage for the outside corner?
So now John Buck moved up to 5th in the order today. Baxter at third, Wright at second, and Davis at first with 1 out. Buck 1 for 5 last night, 7 for 17 with a couple of home runs to start the year. And he takes outside. The Mets' 5th game of the year, and Buck has started all 5. He'll get his first rest tomorrow. Anthony Recker is scheduled to catch Aaron Laffey in the series finale.
Sanabia yesterday, the hard sinker ball pitcher, got Buck out with the sinkers inside. So see how Nolasco works them.
Nolasco behind 2-0. Nolasco generally has terrific control. His career numbers 2.1 walks per 9 innings, but has already walked 1 in the first inning today, and now behind Buck with the bases loaded. Buck has 4 career grand slams. We saw one of them in person. It was opening day 2 years ago when he hit one against Mike Pelfrey. And he takes the breaking ball for a strike.
What a weapon, huh? 2-0, little slider for a strike by Nolasco.
There are the numbers for Nolasco. He's had some good games against the Mets, particularly over the last few years, but he has gotten hammered a few times too. Big chance for Buck here in the first inning. And he lays off that slider. Now it's 3-1. Well, Buck has the benefit of having caught Nolasco the last couple of years, so I'd have a pretty good idea of what Ricky's game plan is.
No, they also know Buck, and you can see they've attacked him with breaking balls run.
I think when you're facing John Buck, or my key would be not as much on the corners, get the ball down, keep it down in the strike zone. High ball hitter.
So now it's 3-1 with the bases full. And Buck lays off. It's a strike. 3-2. Borderline fastball. Full count.
Pretty good pitch.
I thought it was off the plate. Came back late. Let's see.
Well, yeah, you said Joyce has a big strike, is a pitcher's umpire.
I know. Wake up here, Ronnie. You know he's going to call that.
Nicely framed by Olivo, too, to get to 3-2.
Does he have the guts to throw him a hammer here? 3-2 with the bases loaded early.
He'll throw his curveball anytime.
Well, after all those breaking pitches, he could double up with a fastball in, too.
It's a big pitch right here for Nolasco.
He knows it.
And Olivo catching Nolasco for the first time. Olivo was just signed at the end of spring training. He was with the Marlins 4, 5, 6 years ago, and so he would have caught Nolasco then, but it's been a long time, so I want to make sure they're on the same page. Olivo released by Cincinnati late in the spring and signed by the Marlins. 3-2 to Buck with the bases loaded and 1 out. And he hits it in the air to right. Tagging at third is Baxter. Stanton makes the catch. The throw will go to second. Baxter comes in to score the tying run. Sacrifice fly for John Buck to even the game at 1.
I like that right there with the Nolasco. They went to the fastball. You know what? I'm not going to throw a breaking ball and walk in or give a gift run. I'm going to go after him here. If I can get out as a 1-run, hey, take it.
And nice at bat by Buck to get that situation where you get that run in.
6 RBIs for Buck over the first 5 games now. And here's Lucas Duda. Duda 1 for 3, drove in a run last night. You see the on-base percentage. He's drawn 4 walks in the first 4 games. Bats here with 2 out and 2 on in the opening inning.
What I like from Lucas, Gary, is that he has been swinging the bat really aggressively. He almost hit a home run yesterday, just foul.
It is a 2 seats foul on the Pepsi porch down the right field line. He pops this one up. Echeverria, the shortstop, looking through the sunglasses. And that retires the side. Mets get even. Buck with the sacrifice fly. 1-1 as we go to the second. Poznansky lets us know that the Oriole first baseman's on pace for 648 RBIs, and he won't get there because he might get a day off. So maybe 645. Miguel Olivo leads off in the second inning. Well, since they started counting RBIs in 1920, nobody's ever had that many through the first 4 games of the season. Game-winning grand slam last night against the Twins, as Olivo can't stop the swing, and it's 1-1. Olivo played last year for Seattle, and is generally the case. He hit some home runs, 12 home runs in 315 at bats. Never much for a high batting average.
He's a hacker. He does not anything near the strike zone. He is swinging.
He probably fakes swinging a bat when he's watching a game on TV at the first pitch.
He had 7 home runs against left-handers last year with Seattle and 140 at bats.
Danny Echeverria on deck, and then Donovan Solano for the Marlins in the second as Nice falls behind Olivo 3-1. Olivo generally a pretty tough guy to walk. Now 34 years old, 7 different big league teams, including his second tour. And check the count. It's full now. Three-2 from Nice. On the ground to right. Takes his time and throws out Olivo, 1 away. So 1 out and nobody on now. The young shortstop at Danny Echeverria, one of the multitude of players involved in the offseason trade between the Marlins and the Blue Jays. The Marlins actually got 2 shortstops in that deal. They got Echeverria. They also got Junel Escobar, who they then moved on. Probably discretion being the better part of valor on their part. Echeverria might have a terrific future. Already looks like a very polished big league shortstop. And the curveball in for a strike to Echeverria, 1-2. Now the curve, and he just got a piece of that.
Jonathan Nice did not throw that many curves in his first start opening day, but featuring it a lot here early in the game.
Fastball fouled off. Echeverria, 23 years old, defected from Cuba 4 years ago. Marlins will have another Cuban defector on the mound tomorrow as Nice strikes out Echeverria. That's his first strikeout. Jose Fernandez, the #1 prospect for the Marlins, is 20 years old. He defected when he was 15 and went to high school in Tampa, and he is considered the Marlins' #1 prospect, and we'll see him tomorrow. And interesting there that the Marlins, 5 of their top 10 prospects they've gotten in trades as they've dealt away so many veterans over the last 7 months or so. Fastball strike to Donovan Solano.
I think we said it last night. We saw him a lot in spring trainings. Christian Yelich is very polished. Hit a home run in Port St. Lucie over the left field wall.
And Jake Marisnick, the other outfielder, could be as good a defensive center fielder as there is right now. But both those guys are going to start the season down in Double-A. There's Jeffrey Loria, the owner of the Marlins, much embattled back in Miami. The uproar amongst the fan base has been maybe unprecedented, and I say maybe only because in the previous fire sales that the Marlins were involved with, both when Huizenga owned the team and again after they won the title in 03, there was an uproar, but maybe not as much as this past offseason because of the money they spent on the new stadium. Nice with a couple of strikeouts, 1-1 in the second. MLB.tv is celebrating 11 years. Join the millions of fans and subscribe today. Watch every out-of-market game live online on your favorite mobile and connected devices in HD quality with MLB.tv Premium. Visit MLB.tv today. MLB.tv, baseball everywhere. Kirk Neuenhuis getting his first start of the year, playing center field, takes a curveball strike from Ricky Nolasco.
Had a nice double yesterday in the left center field gap off the bench. Drove in a run.
In the air to right center, and Stanton and Ruggiano converge, and Ruggiano's got it for the first out.
I think it's open season for center field here. You got three guys, Valdespin, Neuenhuis, and Calgill, that I think Terry Collins is going to give them opportunities to play, and whoever grabs it, takes the ball and runs with it, is going to get the job.
I think really the same is true of right field. I think anybody who gets hot is going to play in that outfield.
Yeah.
I mean, the only guy who's going to be out there every day for the foreseeable future is Lucas Duda.
Agreed, yeah.
I mean, the competition went on during spring training, and I think it continues. And there's no reason why it shouldn't, because, I mean, Marlon Byrd is a guy who's got some track record, but he's 35 years old, coming off a bad year, and you hope that he can stay hot, but you don't know. Ruben Tejada takes a strike.
Ruben had a tough day with the glove yesterday. Really, we felt up here he should have been charged with 2 errors. Wasn't charged with the error on the ball that was thrown from Buck on a stolen base attempt.
3 for 13 at the plate as he takes the slider off the plate, a ball and a strike.
You know, another thing too, Gare, about the center field, there's 3 guys there. You got, you know, the relatively 2 young guys in Valdespin and Neuenhuis. You know, Calgill's only really had not a full season in the big leagues yet.
Right.
Yeah.
It's tough for young kids to sit there, and they're like horses that are being reined in and not to get into the flow. How do you get someone to step up when you're starting the one guy here? You know, it's sporadic starting. It makes it very difficult for young players.
Well, that's one thing that really helped Neuenhuis when he got called up last year. He got to play a lot in a hurry and had some instant success. Now the question is, can he get that going again? I mean, his season took such an abrupt turn last year. He went from success to failure to injury, and then was hurt again most of this spring and didn't hit. Tejada hits one right at the shortstop Echeverria, and that's the second out.
Remember, Neuenhuis had a couple of home runs in Tampa, and after that went on really where it seemed like he was striking out every 3rd or 4th at bat, and you know, couldn't recover. Couldn't make that adjustment.
Neuenhuis last year struck out 31% of his plate appearances, which was the highest in Mets history. Highest percentage of strikeouts per plate appearance.
Yeah, that's 200 plus in a regular season.
Well, by the way, we got a 1,000 hitter up here right now.
That's right. 2 for 2 and a walk was Neese in his first start of the year. Hard to make that last.
Oh,
and that curveball bends around the plate. 2-1.
Jim Joyce almost yells ball before the ball is caught, isn't it?
Good. There's a strike. Joyce is fun to listen to.
it was like Dutch Runner.
Yeah, but Dutch he'd step back, he'd turn to the side, he'd give you the whole rigmarole.
He was a great balls and strikes umpire.
Curveball misses 3-2. I love Frank Pulley. Frank would give you the right cross.
He'd give you the right cross.
Paul Runge was very good. He was loud. Leslie Nielsen, you know, the actor, when he did his umpiring stint in that movie, that was modeled after Dutch.
With a couple more dance steps.
Exactly.
3-2 to Neese, and that's strike 3 called. Second strikeout for Nolasco. He's got a 1-2-3 inning. Neese will head back to the mound for the 3rd with a 1-1 tie. Off to a rough start defensively. Last year made 12 errors all season, already 3 in the first 4 games, and it could have been 4.
Well, just a little bit, I think, tentative. Maybe the cold weather, a little stutter step there, uncertain how to field that ball. Too much in love with a backhand there. His throwing has been off too. And, so I remember Reyes was a couple years ago. Jose Reyes got off to the bad start with the glove. He had a bunch of errors in April. 3 years ago, 4 years ago. He'll right the ship.
I think if there's one common theme in Ruben's errors, it's a lack of aggressiveness.
Yeah.
It just looks a little tentative.
It's letting the ball play him instead of being aggressive and going and getting it.
Ricky Nolasco 0 for 2 in his first start of the year, lifetime 140 hitter. Leading off in the 3rd against Nice, who gave up a run in the 1st, then pitched a 1-2-3 2nd with a couple of strikeouts.
I guess to put it in perspective, Tejada did not have his 3rd error until the 28th game last year, so a full month and a half.
Ooh. Shattered back. Tejada waits on this one. It's okay because Nolasco's jogging, and that's the first out.
He's jogging because his hands are ringing. They're jammed.
So Nice has retired 5 in a row. Now he goes to the top of the batting order for Juan Pierre, who hit one up the middle for a base hit and scored the Marlins run in the 1st inning. Last year, with all of their expensive signings and hoopla going into the new ballpark and all the expectations, the Marlins had their 2nd lowest runs per game total in their history, which is one of the reasons they decided to break the thing down and start from scratch.
Well, they also, that new ballpark, which I really like, is huge. It is a big, big park.
If you're going to hit home runs there, you got to be legit like Stanton.
Yeah, you got to pull it.
.93 losses for the Marlins last year. Mets beat them 12 of 18, which helped boost the Mets over the Marlins into 4th place. And he's behind on Pierre 3-1. Remember the one Stanton hit to the home run sculpture against the Mets last year? That's ball 4, and Pierre's on for the 2nd time. First walk given up by Nice, who walked 2 in his first start of the year.
That was off Manny Acosta, if I believe. That was.
It must have been a close game.
Ouch. Wow.
It's only the 5th game now, bro.
That was a bomb.
It was.
Greg Grooms almost have to design a new sculpture. Here's Polanco with 1 out and 1 on. Grounded out to 3rd base his first trip and bounces that one foul down past Joe Espada, his 3rd base coach. Well, after getting beat 15-0 last night, the Nats have the lead on the Reds this afternoon. Bryce Harper just hit his 3rd home run of the year. 2-0 Washington in the 3rd.
Is that Homer Bailey? No.
Mike Leake. Bailey pitched last night.
That's right. One thing I'll say about Jonathan, Ronnie, he's got a nice move to first base. He holds runners on well.
Well, the one thing he does is that he has a great ability to quick pitch these guys. So he just comes to the set and goes to the plate and delivers that ball usually in under 1-2, 1-1. The number that the first base coach and the managers are looking for the Marlins is 1-5 or higher is where you can take a base.
Well, Nice keeping the ball in on Polanco, which is a strategy that was not employed last night and that the Mets have had trouble executing against a guy who loves to go to right field. And Buck sets up inside again. Nice misses badly with it, 1-2.
Wow. Well, you can see that you know, when he gets ahead, he has those that ability to have those put away pitches, and it goes up, of course, with 2 strikes. I mean, when I watch Jonathan pitch, I always feel as though, and this is great games and not so great games. Boy, I wish he used his curveball a little more. But you know, that cutter has become such a good weapon for him.
And now he has tried to focus more on his changeup to give him a fourth pitch. There goes Pierre. Polanco bloops one into shallow right. On comes Baxter. Makes the sliding catch. Now pops up and makes the throw to first. And I can't hold it. And back safely is Pierre. Well, when Baxter caught that ball, not sure why he ended up going into a slide, but then he had to rush it, and Davis was unable to handle the throw on what should have been a double play. I'm not sure why he slid.
Well, it's 2 times now Baxter does not have a strong throwing arm, and that's the negative there. He did not make a strong throw to third base, and this is okay. I guess he's just riding himself right here. He makes the throw. He's got the double play. That doesn't work.
A little prestidigitation by the Murph.
Well, it never hurts to deke. You never know who might buy it. Ace with the cutter gets ahead on Stanton 0-2. Stanton flied to right his first time up. But, you know, that double play not made could be huge with Stanton at the plate with a man on. Breaks his back, skims one toward the hole, right with a diving stop, but he has no play. And it's an infield hit for Stanton. So at the cost of a bat, Stanton has an infield single.
Well, there's the cutter. It's a very effective pitch for Nice against the right-hander.
Well, it seems like the Marlins have gotten their way with the defensive charts for the Mets so far in this series. Dobbs' first at bat, of course, that ground ball, simple ground ball down the line.
Pierre now at second, Stanton at first with 2 out. And Dobbs gets another opportunity. Hit an 0-2 pitch, reached out for it, hit it between right and the line to drive in the Marlins run, and he takes a first pitch cutter for a strike. A leadoff walk to Pierre, putting Nice in trouble.
Sorry, Gary. Duda is right on that left field line, giving Dobbs the gaps.
You know, we were talking last night about that ball that sailed in the gap past Duda and the fact that the Mets did not have their center fielder playing close to him. And I asked Terry Collins about that today, and he said when they put on their defensive shifts, they do not consider helping out a corner outfielder who might be less able by playing the center fielder closer to him. They're just not going to do it. That they're going to take their chances with that.
Well, that's going to change. I'll tell you, they can say it as long as they want, but that will change at some point. And I honestly believe, you know, we've had a lot of this talk, and I know Kevin has talked about it with Tom Goodwin. They've worked really hard with Lucas to try to play a kind of a standard left field. But my feeling is that I would push Lucas back. I don't want him going back on balls. I want him coming in. And the worst thing that happens, especially with these good starters, the ball's in front of you. Give the starter another chance instead of that double or triple over your head.
They've got to. I agree with you, Ron. They've got to make Duda play deeper. Nothing gets over his head. Terry Collins also. We have to kind of expand on what he said. He said the charts are we're playing percentages, and if they hit it where we're not, well, we're going to get hurt. So I can understand that theory too. But I agree with you, Ron. Duda has to play deep because he doesn't go back well on balls.
Dobbs goes down swinging on the cutter, and so Nice gets himself out of trouble. His third strikeout ends the top of the third. Both making their debut for their club. Aaron Laffey, veteran left-hander, will make the start for the Mets with Sean Markham on the disabled list. And Jose Fernandez, who has not pitched above A ball, will make his major league debut for the Marlins. For more on Fernandez, let's check in with Kevin Burkhardt. Kevin?
Gary, his story is truly incredible. I mean, Fernandez is only 20 years old and a Cuban defector. But it was quite the tale for him to get here, that's for sure. I mean, his family tried multiple times to get out. He, in fact, tried 4 times. His father got out before he and his mother did. One point on one attempt, he was caught and put in jail as a 14-year-old kid. At one point on a speedboat in the middle of the night, a woman fell off the boat. Immediately reacting, Fernandez dove in the water to save the woman. Turned out to be his mother. I mean, imagine that when you pull her onto the boat and it's his mother. Finally, they did escape, of course. He went to Tampa to be with his dad, and the Marlins drafted him in the first round, and now he's here starting tomorrow. Talking to him today, an incredibly poised young man. I mean, he has everything together. He speaks English very, very, very well. So happy for the opportunity tomorrow. He's going to have 20 friends and family members here as Baxter's got himself a base hit to start it off for the Mets. And how about this? You know, just asked about being on this big stage. He said, you know, I've been in jail. I've been shot at. I've been in the water. What is there to be scared of? I'm not scared of facing David Wright, and that wasn't meant to be disparaging. Yeah. He said the only thing I'm scared of are roller coasters and snakes. Not scared of being on the mound tomorrow. And after going through all that, you can understand why, guys.
Well, fortunately, he's not going to Brooklyn. He's coming to Citi Field. No roller coasters here. So Baxter's aboard for the second time. Daniel Murphy struck out his first time up.
Well, that's halfway to being a good American, afraid of roller coasters and snakes. I'm there also. You know, one of the things that is good about when he went to Tampa, there's a instructor there. His name is Orlando Chinea. And he's a guy that is just has taken a lot of these younger Cuban defectors, and especially the pitchers, and has worked with them. And he certainly gets a lot of credit for the great progress that Fernandez has made at 20 years old.
Now, Fernandez obviously has had enormous success in the minor leagues, but he hasn't pitched above A ball. So for him, you came from Double A.
Yeah.
For him, what's the biggest challenge to come into a major league ballpark and face hitters that are so much more advanced than anybody he's faced before?
Well, I think what happens is that the things you learn in the minor leagues are invaluable. And what are they? Yes, you know how to, if you're having a good streak, how to make it last longer. If you're having a bad streak, how to get out of it. A lot of the things that you have to do off the field, renting your own apartment maybe for the first time, becoming a good teammate, learning how to play professional ball. Those are all things that if you have more seasoning, it helps.
Double play ball right at Solano. Echeverria turns it over for the 4-6-3 double play. 2 out and nobody on.
But I think, you know, there was a number 16 that pitched for the Mets, came from A-ball too, and he was pretty good. Now, Fernandez has some unbelievable numbers. The problem that you have is that at this level, the spotlight's there, and you don't get away with any mistakes. And I think, you know, he's going to be great, and he's going to throw great. But what happens is when you don't have that polish, when you get in tough situations, how do you react? How do you get out of it? And that's why you got a guy like Ricky Nolasco saying, well, he doesn't have as good a stuff as Fernandez, but you know what? He's a professional pitcher, knows how to get out of situations. First inning, he has the bases loaded, gave up 1 run instead of 3 or 4, which happens to young pitchers.
Ronnie, I asked manager Mike Redmond about him today. He said, oh, he had a big grin. I would love to catch him tomorrow. Of course, Redmond just retired 3 years ago.
Well, then the question will become, is he here for a couple of starts, or is he here to stay? I mean, the only reason that Fernandez is pitching Sunday is because the Marlins have a couple of guys on the disabled list, Henderson Alvarez and Nadio Eovaldi. Yeah. But, you know, if he pitches well, how can you send him back down?
Well, the only problem you have with him is that he has been told, or organizationally, he's on 150 to 170 innings. So if he did stay up, you know, that takes him to Strasburg territory, which is the middle of August, right?
But are the Marlins in danger of making it to the postseason?
No. Well, no.
So that changes the equation a little bit. It'd be a big story if they did.
Oh, gosh. I don't call that being in danger.
1-2 to right, who had a base hit his first time up. And the curveball outside, 2-2. Ricky Nolasco gave up a first inning run after a leadoff walk. Making his second start of the year. 2-2 to right, and the curveball ripped foul.
Hung that one.
Nice catch by Fan on one hop right behind the tarp.
Oh boy, hanger. Just enough off of it, Ron, to get David out in front. But just you sit there and you go, if I just waited a split second longer, I'd have been upper deck.
Right off his fists. And broke his bat.
This game is trying to lead the world in broken bats, right? Jonathan Nice has gotten at least 3 or 4. David here.
Who did we see for the Padres who broke about 6 bats in 3 games?
Yeah, who was that? We were saying that he'd bring enough bats. Venable.
Will Venable.
Will Venable.
Again, the 2-2 to right. Drives it to center field. And Ruggiano makes the catch to end the inning. We've played 3 now at Citi Field. Mets and Marlins tied at 1. Fourth inning, Mets and Marlins tied 1-1. Justin Ruggiano leads off against John Nice and takes a curveball for a strike. Ruggiano popped up his first time up. Had himself a marvelous season last year at age 30 and off to a good start again in 2013. Got a couple of hits, drove in 2 runs last night. And Nice takes care of him on 3 pitches. Curveball and 2 changeups to get Ruggiano for his 4th strikeout.
Boy, this is so nice to see. The first pitch was just to get me over curve to get ahead, and then 2 changeups that just the bottom dropped out. And when you go up there, if you're a right-handed hitter, what are you looking at, Jonathan Nice? Hard and middle plate in.
Now Miguel Oliva, who grounded out to right his first time up. That's David Wright, not right field. Sometimes it gets confusing. Well, we showed you before that Nice uses his curveball and cutter more later in counts, but still you have to start with the fastball.
You do, because I personally include the cutter as a fastball, so that's 72 or over 70% of the time Jonathan Nice is using his fastball. Everything comes off of that.
The interesting thing about his cutter, and we saw it in the last inning with Dobbs, is that cutter can be more like a slider sometimes, depending on how he releases it.
Well, what it is he does it with positioning on the ball and finger pressure. So sometimes the finger pressure will be a little more. I mean, it's not an exact science, even though you aspire for it to be.
Tejada waits on the grounder, and the overhand toss gets Olivo 2 out.
Well, you can see that super slow-mo. See that almost one finger, just that middle finger on the ball, leading with the elbow, and then the flip of the wrist on top of that ball, the follow through. And that is a beautiful, beautiful angle to watch him release that curveball.
Seems to have his changeup working in this ball game.
But Danny Echeverria takes that curveball for a strike. Echeverria struck out his first time up. Donovan Solano would be next. 16 batters, 14 first pitch strikes for Nice. That's a way to work. Charging right, can't make the bare hand play, and Echeverria is aboard. David makes that bare hand play as well as anybody in the game at third base, but not that time.
That was hit a little harder than the ones he usually makes.
I thought he had a chance to come in and backhand it with the glove and come up throwing.
It's also in between hop, which makes it even more difficult.
And also you have the ball coming off the grass onto the dirt, which I think makes it harder, doesn't it?
That makes it harder, and then you have the speed of the runner also.
So it's an infield hit for Echeverria, the fourth hit for Miami. 2 of the 4 have been infield hits, and now Solano, who struck out his first time. Solano had himself a nice rookie season last year, hit .295. He is from Colombia, a nation that has not produced a plethora of big league players, but some pretty good ones. Orlando Cabrera, Edgar Renteria.
Yeah.
And they're all from the same part of Colombia. It's a soccer playing country, but there's a little town near the coast called Barranquilla, and just about every major league player from Colombia is from that area.
It's like almost all of the ball players that are coming from Curacao come from this one area, because Andrew Jones has a baseball kind of academy and little league there.
Drive to left, a base hit for Solano. Echeverria stops at second. So a couple of 2-out hits, and that'll enable the Marlins, if nothing else, to clear the pitcher spot here in the 4th, with Nolasco coming up.
Ronnie, does that make you angry when you give up a hit to the 8th hitter with 2 outs?
Yeah, well, you know, you gave up the infield hit to the shortstop, and then Solano's up, and you say to yourself, boy, got to get him out so we can start with Nolasco. But you know what? Good hitting by Solano.
So a couple of innings prolonged. The Mets couldn't turn what looked like a double play in the 3rd, so Nice had to work a little bit harder. And now a couple of 2-out hits by the 7 and 8 hitters get Nolasco to the plate in the 4th. So Nice up to 70 pitches now.
And in today's game, it just pushes that pitch count up.
First pitch curveball to the opposing pitcher. Nolasco grounded out to short his first time up. Echeverria at second, Solano at first. They both run pretty well. And Nice gets the call on the changeup, 1-1.
Interesting choice to throw a changeup to the pitcher. I would not do that.
Nice is liking his changeup today. I think it probably feels good out of his hand. But I agree, Ron.
Not to the pitcher.
I mean, last year, if Nice threw a half dozen changeups in a game, it was a lot. Now he's 2-1 on Nolasco. And a bouncing ball for Tejada. He'll have to go to first with it in time to get Nolasco, and that retires the side. 2 hits and 2 left. We're 1-1 in the 4th at Citi Field. won't be long before the Statue of Liberty is back open for visitors after sustaining damage in Sandy. I think July 4th is the goal for having the statue back open. It's all things New York sports, all on one site, SNY.TV, the ultimate blog network featuring a continuous flow of sports news straight from the best New York sports blogs. SNY.TV, your online home of all things New York sports. John Neese looking pensive, hoping his team can get him a lead as the Mets come up in the bottom of the fourth. Ike Davis will lead off. Ike saw only one pitch his first time up and poked a base hit to left field. Mets have 3 hits over the first 3 innings against Nolasco. It'll be Davis, Buck, and Duda here in the fourth. Ike's hit was just his second in his first 17 at bats this year. And he rolls that one down to first. And Dobbs makes the play to Nolasco, 1 away. You know, it's obviously an incredibly small sample. 18 at bats into the season now for Ike. But if you have had the history that he had last year, where he just couldn't get it going for 2.5 months last year, you wonder whether that weighs on him more greatly than it would otherwise to get off to this kind of start.
Well, the other side of the coin is that he showed, I mean, enormous strength and perseverance for a young player to have such a bad first half, to have such a come back on the second half as he did. So that's on the positive side. But early in my career, Garrett, I could not get out of the gate. And you go into the season in trepidation about April. It can. The only way to get over it is to have a good April, and finally I did.
Do you think it was like the cooler weather, or was it?
No, I think it was just nerves, and I didn't know if I belonged. I was 20 years old. Well, I was 21.
Yeah.
But and everybody's different. But you see this first half numbers compared to the second half numbers.
So I would imagine, though, that having swung the bat as well as he did in spring training, and we know spring training doesn't mean anything, but that would at least have encouraged him that coming off the second half last year, clearly his ankle is stronger this year. He didn't have the valley fever scare that he had, and that he would have been looking forward to getting off better than he has.
I'm sure he was, but spring is spring, and this is the bell.
And it's also, it's a little different when you take an over in your first game, or you strike out 4 times in the game. That's going to play with your mind a little bit. Remember his next game, he swung at the first pitch on every at bat, it seemed.
Which he's done twice today as well.
Ike will be fine before it's all over and done with.
The one thing we have to add, and of course it shouldn't matter, but he's had a tough time of it here at Citi Field.
That's true. Can't ignore the numbers. Duda swings and misses, and I sometimes wonder how much they mean.
Yeah.
But he hit 188 here last year, and hitting 111 here right now.
And that's historically bad with anyone in baseball, how they hit at home.
I'd like to know what he hit the second half at Shea. $20 fine.
Look, we can't. People take
it. It's up to 50 now, isn't it?
It's nice to hear it, though, Keith. It's like, we should be rewarded for it now when we say it.
3-1 to Duda, who popped up his first time up. And there's ball 4, and Duda's on with a 2-out walk. Second walk given up by Nolasco. By the way, just to put Ike's home numbers last year in historical perspective with the Mets, he's only the 3rd Met to have 200 home at bats and hit under 200 at home. Wayne Garrett did it twice, including his rookie year in '69 and again in '74. And Dave Kingman in 1975 hit 199 at Shea.
I remember that year. Kingman hit 30 home runs one year, didn't he? And hit like on the interstate for the Mets, if I recall. Dave was all or nothing.
Don't get me started. Neuenhuis flying to center his first time up and just gets out of the way of that slider.
Who was the guy for the Tigers? Was it Rob Deere that would hit a lot of home runs about 200?
Deere started out with the Giants.
We did. Oh, that's right.
Big guy. Monster.
Well, Mark Reynolds is turning into that kind of player too. Neuenhuis flying to center his first time and takes a fastball strike, 1-1. SNY Super Slow Motion is brought to you by your Mercedes-Benz Tri-State dealers. Visit them on the web at searchmercedes.com. That's putting the logo on the back of the mound.
Yeah, back of the mound. Yep.
That NY in blue and orange.
That would bother me. I'd have to rub that out.
You would too, wouldn't you?
Neuenhuis lines one to right, but out comes Stanton, and he makes the lunging grab.
Nice play by Stanton to pick off that line drive, denying Neuenhuis, and that's the third out. Good backhand play by the big guy in right field. Keeps it a 1-1 game as we go to the fifth at Citi Field. Series opener with insider info and exclusive interviews. Plus, hear the latest in New York sports as Chris Carlin and Adam Shine debate the top stories of the day on Loudmouths, presented by Caesars Atlantic City. Now at a new time, Monday at 5:30 p.m. only on SNY. Top of the batting order, Juan Pierre up for the third time and takes a strike from John Neese. Pierre has singled to center, drawn a walk. He has scored the only Miami run. That was back in the first inning. And the curveball bounced to second. Murphy playing shallow is there to throw out Pierre, so the Mets finally get the Marlins leadoff hitter out. As you try Honda fifth inning recap, Neese and Nolasco each allowed a run in the first inning, and it both settled in nicely from there. Mets have 3 hits, Marlins have 5. Neese has struck out 4, walked 1 over the first 4 1/3. Here's Placido Polanco, and he takes the curveball down for ball 1. By the way, I have your answer, Keith. Ike's second half at home last year hit .255 with 8 home runs.
So
to give you an idea just how bad it was the first half. Pulled just foul, 1-1. I'm always skeptical about numbers for ball players in certain ballparks. Is it situational? Is it matter of whether you happen to be hot when you play in a certain place, or does it really make a difference what ballpark you're playing in?
I think it's just all the luck of the draw, or the way the season plays out.
A lot of times for a starting pitcher, who you're facing. You know what I mean? You might have a year where the people you're facing on the road are the top of the top, so you get a lot of no decisions, some losses, and at home you catch someone that's always on a bad break or a bad streak.
Now, I can tell you one thing. I did not like playing at Stade Olympique in Montreal because the lights were yellowish, had a yellowish tint. The seats, remember, were like you were in Monet and one of his water lily paintings.
Tejada makes the adjustment, but can't throw out Polanco. Infield hit. Third infield hit for the Marlins today. Sorry, Keith.
No, it's okay. I mean, we had some action going on. You can step in right and go right ahead. So it's a play right here. If Neese lets it go, it's right at the shortstop, RJ.
Well, you know, I mean, your reaction always is to try to get a glove on it, but I think only Tommy Glavine's one of the few pitchers I've watched who would let that go because he knew where the position of his fielders were.
So now 1 out and 1 on for Stanton. And he takes a strike. But I remember Olympic Stadium. The seats were so yellow.
Yellow and green.
Couldn't see the ball.
And then you had the yellow tinting lights, and the ball was never, the height of the ball was never white.
The pop up behind short. Tejada out, but it's going to drop for a hit. So Stanton with his second soft hit of the game.
Not a very good read by Polanco there. I thought he had a chance to go first to third on that, the play right in front of him. I mean, you got to know that they're playing this big guy very deep. No, he doesn't run like he used to. But never was a greasy. He shook his head. He's mad at himself for not getting to third base.
Keith, the problems I would have at Stade Olympique was Raines, Dawson, Carter, Wallach.
That was
a little bit of a problem.
I was going to add on to that. They had one of the best pitching staffs in baseball too. I either went into Montreal and either I had a great series or I could go there or go 3 days in there and have an offer, and couldn't wait to get out of Dodge.
How about that, Rodney? First pitch changeup to a left-hand batter. Have we seen that before from Neese?
I have not seen it, and it's interesting that with working with Buck, a new catcher this season, he's thrown at least 10 or 12 changeups already.
Dobbs had the RBI hit for the Marlins back in the first, and then Neese was able to strike him out in the third. Marlins now have 7 hits. They've all been singles, and they have had 4 or 5 of them that have been of the very soft variety, including 3 infield hits. That's a potential double play ball. Murphy with the flip, Tejada with the turn, and it can't be handled. Here comes Polanco. The throw to the plate is not in time, and the Marlins take the lead. The Mets unable to turn the double play. Tejada with the low throw, and Polanco scores all the way from second base to put Miami up 2-1.
Well, Polanco hustling all the way here, and yes, another error on the throw be charged to Tejada here. There's no one in his way, and Ike doesn't make the scoop. Just came up a little more than he thought, and Blanco making the turn. He kind of never assumed.
But ground ball to short off the bat of Ruggiano, and Tejada throws this one true to end the inning. But Tejada's 4th error in the first 5 games of the season produces the go-ahead run for Miami. 2-1 Marlins halfway through. Tejada, especially in the field.
You know, when it came off the bat, I thought Murph was going to be able to take it himself, but he was not. And it looked to me like Tejada just rushed the throw for some reason. He had plenty of time with Dobbs running, and by that time, Ike on the run throws not close to getting Polanco at the plate.
And really, there was no runner in there sliding into Ruben, too. But he had, I thought Murph could have charged a little harder because Ruben had to rush the throw because it was a bang-bang play at first base.
Now Tejada leads off in the home 5th inning. Ricky Nolasco with a 1-run lead. Tejada lined out to short his first time up.
We talked about this last season. At this level, because the hitters are so good, you have to be able to turn to double play when it presents itself. And if you don't, then you're going to be a team that's going to be on the losing end.
Well, the Mets have had 2 double plays that they failed to turn in this game. The hit and run play, Baxter in right field, unable to double Polanco off first, and Pierre off first, and now this one, and cost the Mets a run.
When your pitcher serves up a ground ball double play, you've got to turn it for him. You've got to turn it.
Now Nolasco behind 3-0. And Ruben takes a strike. Nolasco has walked 2, which is about his norm for 9 innings. Struck out 2.
I think Ike's a little unhappy with himself not making that pick.
That wasn't an easy pick, though.
No, it wasn't. But, you know, he's going to make that play 90 out of 100 times, maybe 95.
Nolasco has come back from 3-0 to go full on Tejada with the pitcher on deck.
Do you ever at first base, if you have an erratic thrower, and I know you've talked about Gary Templeton before, do you ever start to anticipate, this might be a bad throw, be ready?
Well, let's forget Templeton. Let's go to Howard Johnson at third base. Hojo. I was always prepared for Hojo. Yes.
Poor Haji.
And that's on the inside corner. Tejada caught looking. So Nolasco comes back from 3-0 to strike out Tejada, his 3rd strikeout.
Inside, got the corner.
It's one of those pitches. You don't always get the call. Catcher sitting on the outside corner. It's on the inside corner, but Nolasco got the call from Joyce.
Here's Neese, who went down looking his first time up. Here's that play at first.
It's an in-between hop, but more of a short hop. And he was late coming up with the glove. That was all the way. He did everything proper. You start from the ground up, but Ike made the choice. You know, it's a split-second decision. You decide where you think that ball is going to come, how high it's going to come up. You got him in the heel of his glove.
Nolasco gets the curveball over, and it's 1-2 to Neese.
You know, a lot of times, Garrett, and we'll get to it, is on a play like that where you don't have to backhand and you got the glove facing the throw like Ike. I used to put my throwing hand here. And so if the ball came up like higher than that one did, I caught it a lot of times, and it was just pressed it in the glove like that. It happened a lot in my
So it's
career.
almost like a shortstop fielding a ground ball.
Right. So that play, it's in between hop, and you're like this, and get the hand right here. It comes up higher. You can clamp it right back down. I did it. It happened a lot over my 17 years.
Wow.
3-2 to Neese. Solano on the back end. And he throws him out 2 away. So Nolasco, given the 2-1 lead, has retired the first 2 here in the bottom of the 5th. And now Mike Baxter, put in the leadoff slot today by Terry Collins, and he's been aboard twice. Walked and scored in the first, single to left in the 3rd.
Mike did not have a good spring, but he's swinging the bat good early. I mean, he's his 4th game he's played in. He's had only 4 at bats. He's 2 for 4, swinging the bat good,
and 3 walks to go with that 2 for 4. So Baxter's doing what Baxter does.
He's a walking machine. He reminds me of Lee Mazzilli when he came over the second time to the Mets. He'd have a pinch hit, and he could walk with the best of them.
You know who did that really well for quite a while as a part-time player for the Mets was Matt Franco.
He could do it too, yeah.
Guy could come off the bench, and was usually your pinch hitters are up there looking for the first pitch anywhere near the strike zone, but Franco and Baxter too, they take a little bit different approach. Although I will say, I think Baxter is a lot more patient when he plays than he is as a pinch hitter.
Well, Lee Mazzilli, when he came back over to the Mets, in fact, it changed where Davey would use him a lot to lead off an inning as a pinch hitter because his on-base percentage was so good.
Baxter lofts one out for Stanton in right field, and that retires the side. So Nolasco, given the lead, sets the Mets down 1-2-3 after 5, 2-1 Miami. The shade, but if you can find some sun, it's a delightful afternoon. Mets down 2-1. Miguel Olivo pulls one through the hole, and the Marlins get the leadoff man on against John Neese in the 6th.
Was that first ball fastball hitting Olivo?
You got it, Keith.
Some things never change.
Well, leopard never changes its spots, as they say.
Well, that's 8 hits now against Neese. Only the 2nd time, though, that the Marlins have had the leadoff man on. Echeverria, the number 7 hitter, had an infield hit his last time. Hit a slow bouncer to 3rd that David Wright tried to barehand and couldn't come up with cleanly. Donovan Solano, the 8 hitter, waiting on deck.
Olivo is not slow for a catcher. They've used a hit and run with him at first.
That's going to get the bullpen going now as Neese gets to 90 pitches on the afternoon. Brandon Lyon, first man up in the Mets bullpen. Had to make sure it was Brandon Lyon because his kids have been running around the clubhouse the last couple of days. They also are wearing number 34 with their last name on the back.
Really?
3-0 to Echeverria, and that misses ball 4. So Neese issues a 4-pitch walk to the rookie shortstop. And now there are 2 men on.
Looked like Jonathan really goosed that one in there, Ronnie.
Just tried to aim it, that 3-0 pitch, and didn't come close.
So Dan Warthen will spend a visit to the mound. A single and a walk to start the 6th inning for Miami. You've got the 8-hitter Solano coming up, so no real threat of a bunt with Velasco on deck.
One thing you have to watch out, Gary, when you get out of kind of your comfort area and throwing as many changeups as Jonathan has thrown today, sometimes you lose a little of that touch on your fastball command.
And why does that happen?
Because you're spending an inordinate amount of time turning the ball over in your hand the opposite way that Jonathan usually throws it, and that's on the outside of the ball cutting into the right-handers.
Solano 1 for 2, and he takes the cutter on the inside corner. 0-1. Well, John is trying to get through the 6th inning for the 22nd consecutive start. Longest current streak in the major leagues, 21 in a row, 6 innings or more. And you see his numbers over that stretch, 2.92 ERA. Double play ball to Murphy. This time Tejada makes the throw on target, and the Mets turn 2. 4-6-3, 2 out. Olivo goes to 3rd.
The ultimate mulligan here for the Mets.
Well, this ball hit a little bit harder. Murph with a nice feed. And there you go. That's the pitcher's best friend right there. Big double play.
Because now he'll get to face the pitcher Velasco with 2 out. Velasco's been up twice, grounded to short both times. Marlins took the lead in the 5th inning, an unearned run, the result of Tejada's throwing error on a potential double play. Buck doing a nice job sliding to make sure that Olivo couldn't try and score.
Good fundies.
Almost found the 5-ball there.
It almost did.
Late swing foul down past Perry Hill. Perry Hill, who has a reputation of being one of the best infield instructors in the game.
Well, Kevin did his piece yesterday as he was working on the tryout camp for their first baseman after Kochman went on the DL.
Ooh. Oh boy, that comes. Ooh.
So with the pitcher up, 2 potential wild pitches in this at bat.
Again, fastball command eluding Jonathan Neese, and 2 fine plays by John Buck.
Buck for the 2nd time already in this first week, playing a day game after a night game, and now Neese is behind Velasco 3-1. So it's starting to get away from Neese a tad here in the 6th inning. Juan Pierre would be next. And he throws it right down the middle to get the 2nd strike on Velasco. Three and 2 on the way, and he struck him out. Side retired. 5 strikeouts for Neese as he sidesteps trouble in the 6th. That's 22 straight starts of 6 or more. involves David Wright. David's been wearing number 5 since he came up in 2004. Who was the last Met to wear number 5 before Wright's arrival? It's a terrific question. I can remember a few number 5s, but I'm not sure who the last one would have been.
You guys are talking about it. You're right.
Okay, well, I'm not going to give it away.
No, not at all.
But he was a very colorful guy.
The one awarded before the guy you were saying is a good friend of mine before that. So I was thinking maybe it was him.
Now that we've confused everybody.
No. Number
Murphy
5
will lead off in the home 6th. Murphy struck out and grounded into a double play today. And Velasco starts him off with an off-speed pitch for a strike. Murphy, Wright, and Davis 2, 3, and 4 in the order. Mets have been held to just 1 run and 3 hits over the first 5 innings by Ricky Nolasco. And Murphy gets tied up on that slider, but he held 1-1. Off the end of the bat, Polanco ranging wide and throws out Murphy, 1 away.
I'll tell you what, the Mets have struggled offensively. It all started against Stoltz, and all control pitchers would change up off speed stuff.
One out and nobody on. Here's Wright. Single to center, fly to center, 1 for 2.
I guess to what you're saying, Keith, is they're working the count to get in hitters' counts, but the pitchers are not obliging, and they're throwing changeups and sliders on those 2-1, 3-1 counts.
First pitch breaking ball for a strike to Wright. Ricky Nolasco grew up a big Dodger fan in California.
Good cut by David.
Well, if anybody's going to break through against Nolasco, it's going to be Wright. 6 career home runs against Nolasco.
Good pitch too here. This ball was knee high outside corner. A good cut by David, but good pitch also by Nolasco. Big cut, big follow through.
Now an 0-2. Olivo standing up to receive that pitch.
It's almost like Nolasco's making up pitches just to do something to get David to swing and miss.
Now the 1-2. And he just missed outside. 2-2. Nolasco pitched well his first start against the Nats. Gave up just 3 hits in 6 innings, but Strasburg was better that day. Involved in another tight one today. And now he's gone from 0-2 to 3-2 against Wright.
He gave up the 2 home runs to Harper. 2 solo shots, and that was the difference.
The most difficult part about being the opening day pitcher is that the starts after that. You have Strasburg the first day. You have Jonathan Neese today.
You're going to get the ace 2 times in a row. Right.
Maybe more than that.
Yeah.
3-2 now to Wright with Davis on deck. 1 out and nobody on. We're in the 6th. Mets down 2-1. And Wright hits one back up the middle for his second hit of the day. Good turn at bat for David after falling behind on the count. Mets have just their 4th hit of the afternoon. Let's check in with the studio. Gary Apple standing by with this game break. Nice to see Ramos getting back in the fray after missing most of last year hurt. 4-1 Nats in the 6th in Cincinnati. Now Ike Davis comes up with a tying run at first and 1 out. Now on opening day, David stole a couple of bases with Davis at the plate, and with Ike struggling right now, probably wouldn't be a bad move.
I think if David wants to steal here, it's a good time to try to pilfer a bag here.
Well, Ike has seen 3 pitches today, and he swung at all 3. Single to left in the first, grounded out to first base in the 4th, both times on the first pitch.
Well, the defense, you can see, pretty straight up. But Stanton in right field, he's playing awful shallow against Ike, who's got 30 bombs last year.
Let me ask you about Ike being so aggressive. Is it a matter of him just not wanting them to get to the off-speed stuff and just looking for first pitch fastballs?
Well, no, he's actually swinging and missing at the breaking stuff and the changeups right now. They've been getting him out. He's just getting a steady diet of junk.
Well, that was the case last year.
Yeah.
It was the same saga the first half of the season, and until he was able to lay off that stuff and get some fastball. Two and one to Davis with right at first and one out. And another off-speed pitch for a strike.
He's not going to get the fastball. Yep. So this has the corner. See, Ike's a little bit quick. A little bit starting too quick, and that's all about when you're not on all cylinders.
You might try to paint him inside with a fastball here and surprise him, then 3-2 back to the breaking ball if he doesn't make the pitch.
I think you're right, RJ.
2-2 from Nolasco, and it's up and in. Full count. You must have pitched it sometime. Well, would you risk running right here? I mean, Ike's. He struck out 4 times on opening day. For the most part, though, he's been putting the ball in play.
I would not, with Ike hitting the threat of the strikeout and John Buck, your hottest hitter, behind him.
Right is running, and Davis fouls it off.
And he went after him with a fastball. You know what, too? I'm sure what's running through Terry Collins' head is make it happen, make something happen, and just make it, put it on Ike to put the ball in play.
And if he strikes out, maybe David steals the base.
Yeah.
He was running on the first 3-2 pitch. Running again, and Davis fouls it off again. Another fastball from Nolasco, keeping it away. Last year, the Mets did not have a player steal 20 bases for the first time in 9 years. David led the team, but he also got caught stealing 10 times. Not a particularly good percentage. Mets went from the top of the league to the bottom of the league in steals in one season for obvious reasons. Lost the greatest stolen base threat they've ever had.
Couldn't have sent Jose farther south, and now he couldn't get him further north.
Hit his first home run last night for the Blue Jays in a loss. 8th pitch of the at-bat. David runs, and it's hit through the hole. A base hit for Davis. And Wright will go first to third. Well, that worked out perfectly for Terry Collins. Now he's got the tying run at third with 1 out.
Well, there's the changeup that Nolasco got too much over the plate. It was down in the strike zone, had a lot of sink, but he didn't get it away. If he got it away, he's got Ike. Too much in the middle, and David never had a shot to go to third base if he wasn't running. Not with Stanton's arm.
So John Buck, who drove in the first Met run with a sacrifice fly in the first inning, has another shot with a runner at third and less than 2 out here in the 6th. Chuck Hernandez, the Marlins pitching coach, on the phone. We'll see whether they get somebody up behind Nolasco. Is up to 95 pitches now. Right at third, Davis at first and 1 out. 2-1 Marlins, 6th inning. And Buck, first pitch fastball, pounds it into the ground. Foul ball, 0-1. Wright racing down the line just to make sure, because the home plate umpire Jim Joyce didn't give a definitive foul ball call.
And that's pretty funny. Nolasco was a student yesterday. Murphy hits that 3-run home run with a fastball away. He has not seen anything hard away from Nolasco. And Sanabria got Buck out with fastballs down and in yesterday's game, and he's done that also.
Helps to watch.
Yeah, it does. Really does.
And a breaking ball for a strike to Buck, and it's 0-2. Lucas Duda waiting on deck. Mets, the first 2 games of the year, were 10 for 19 with runners in scoring position. Since, just 3 for 18.
Yep, came back inside aggressively in to Buck. This has really been an impressive performance by Nolasco.
Yeah.
He could get a loss here, and it'd be a tough luck loss. And he's pitched a good ball game. This is obviously a big inning right here for him.
They keep trying to call the bullpen. Nobody's answering.
Pizza just got there. That's why.
I thought they were doing the cell phones.
That's what I thought. Yeah. Oh, and 2 to Buck. Ground ball over the bag. A fair ball down the line, and the Mets tie the game. Right is in. Davis heading for third. Tofel's waving him around. Bobbled in the corner by Pierre, and the Mets take the lead. John Buck comes through again. A 2-run double, and the Mets lead 3-2.
Well, in that situation, you're trying to get a ground ball from Nolasco. So he comes down and in with a sinker, then a little slider for a strike. He tries to come in and surprise Buck, and then came back with a sinker again. But this time he got his ground ball. But with the defense, Polanco playing way off the line, a double for Buck, and the Mets lead.
Nice hitting by Mr. Buck. His third RBI of the ball game here. He's driven in all 3 runs for the Mets.
Mike Redmond just came out of the dugout after that last play and went to Jim Joyce, the home plate umpire. Now Joyce is coming over to talk to Terry Collins, and I wonder whether it's about that bullpen phone that does not appear to be operative. And it may be that they have to shut down the Mets bullpen phone to compensate. Anyway, Ryan Webb finally got the message and is throwing in the bullpen. Redmond managing just his 5th major league game.
And they're sending one of the bullpen catchers or backup catcher to go down there and deliver the message.
So I guess they've got to render the bullpen phone inoperative in the Mets dugout to compensate.
Well, looks like they're talking now.
You see
Skipworth.
Kyle Skipworth, who was just called up yesterday, helps him get his running in. It's like Hermes.
It's so funny, and yeah, exactly. It's so funny that, you know, the old days of every relief pitcher had his own signal, his own sign, works much better than any of this stuff.
And Jim Joyce giving the thumbs up, saying the phones are working now. Mets have taken the lead for the first time today. Lucas Duda, the batter, and he takes ball 1 from Nolasco. So Wright and Davis with base hits. Buck brings them both home with an 0-2 2-run double.
8th RBI in the year for John.
He's got all 3 today for the Mets. Duda has popped up and walked today, 0 for 1. And it's right at his feet. Somehow he got out of the way. 2-0.
Well, just a changeup. A little hop there by Duda.
And now ball 3. So Nolasco looking a little out of sorts after giving up that big hit to Buck. Right after you said that he might get a tough luck loss.
That's right, Keith.
Yes. I think he's got to get his cool back.
Yeah, so, you know, your shoulders sag a little bit when you get that ground ball. But when you give up a double on an 0-2 pitch, that sometimes lingers into the next batter.
Yep. You got your ball club. It's got 3 more innings to hit. So keep it 3-2. Stop the bleeding. He's a veteran. He should be able to do that.
Hit sign for Duda on 3-0.
Why not? I would.
Ball 4. Duda walks for the second time. 4 straight Mets have reached base. Let's go back to the Buck hit and look at how the Marlins handled this defensively.
Well, there's the swing. It was a sinker and just didn't get it in enough. Good hitting by Buck. Well placed down the line. Now, I think if Pierre fields this ball cleanly, Ike still scores, but he doesn't. And there's a double clutch, too, and there's a rainbow in. No arm from Pierre. And now keep your eye on the back runner. And Tough, never hesitating, sending Ike home.
Well, the combination of the bobble and, the scouting report, which says that Pierre can't throw, Tough will have to be very aggressive there. And it paid off in the go-ahead run. Mike Redmond will make a pitching change. Nolasco sagging here in the 6th. Mets have gone up 3-2. On to pitch for the Marlins this second outing.
They acquired Webb from the San Diego Padres, traded Cameron Maybin over to the Pods. Last year appeared in 60 games.
Mets have rallied to take the lead in the bottom of the 6th. David Wright started it with a 1-out single. Ike Davis a hit and run single, and then John Buck doubled them both home. Duda followed with a walk, and now it's Kirk Neuenhuis to try and add to it. So what started promisingly for Ricky Nolasco ends in a way that he would have preferred that had not. Neuenhuis lined out to right. Stanton robbed him of a hit his last time up, and he pulls this one down to first. Dobbs makes the play to second. Echeverria back to first, but far too late. And so the inning continues as they erase Duda. 3-6 for the second out.
Well, nice play by Dobbs and a hot shot. No wasted motion there as Neuenhuis runs so well. Got down that line quick.
So now 1st and 3rd and 2 out, and Ruben Tejada comes up. Now, the question is Nice done? He's thrown 100 pitches. Nobody's come out on deck for the Mets as of yet. And now Valdespin does, so it looks like Nice is done. So that would free Neuenhuis up to steal a base in this spot. Not worried about them walking Tejada. And Ruben takes outside for ball 1.
I think it's a combination of the number of pitches and also the long inning for Jonathan Nice.
Well, he was able to talk his way into the 7th on opening day. Not sure if he tried that today. Not quite as sharp a day for John. But now he's got himself a lead and a chance for a win.
Talk less when you're on the winning end.
That's right. 2-0 to Tejada. Scott Atchison, who's been the most successful relief pitcher for the Mets early in the season, getting ready in the bullpen. Ball strike, 2-1. Tejada's line to short and taking a call third strike, 0 for 2. Valdespino got a start yesterday and was on base 4 times. Getting ready to pinch hit. Webb with the 2-1, and Tejada flies one out to center. Ruggiano right there, and that retires the side. But the Mets grabbed the lead for the first time today. David Wright fell behind in the count 0-2, got it to 3-2. He got a base hit. Ike Davis moving him along to third, and John Buck drives them both in with a double. 3 RBIs for Buck and a 3-2 Met lead. On our area and left many local youth baseball and softball leagues with no place to play. This year SNY is reaching out with the SNY Play Ball Award presented by New York Community Bank, offering $5,000 grants to local leagues in need of help. To apply, visit facebook.com/SNY today. Scott Atchison will make his 3rd appearance. He's been perfect so far.
Yeah, 2 innings, no runs, coming off a fine year in Boston, except it was cut short by an elbow strain.
And now pitching day game after a night game last night. It'll be interesting to see how he responds. Top of the batting order, Juan Pierre swings and misses at the breaking ball, and it's 0-2.
Well, I liked Atchison the best of all the relievers all spring. He really had a good spring, good crisp stuff, throw strikes, goes after the hitters.
We always got to appreciate a guy with a little bit of gray in his beard, you know.
You could definitely mistake him in the clubhouse for a coach.
That's right.
No question about it. But at age 37, he is apparently in the prime of his career. Pierre takes one the other way, and for the first time, Atchison gives up a base runner this season. 3rd time that Pierre has been on base today.
Well, good hitting by Pierre and a backdoor slider. Just got too much of the plate. See, the purpose of a backdoor slider is to get the hitter to quit on it. It starts out 3-4 inches outside, then it breaks in on the outside corner. Pierre didn't quit on it because it started out on the outside corner as a strike and broke out over the outer half.
So the tying run is aboard with Pierre. Now Polanco, who's 1 for 3, an infield hit, scored the go-ahead run for the Marlins in the 5th, and he shows bunt and takes a strike.
I don't think Polanco's trying to bunt there. I think he's shortening it up, just try to get the infielders in a little bit, take a pitch, maybe give Pierre a chance to steal a base.
Well, he's succeeded. Look at David Wright at third. He's in.
A ball and a strike to Polanco. By the way, the line on Nice today: 6 innings, 8 hits, 2 runs, 1 earned, 2 walks, 5 strikeouts. So through 5 games, the Mets starters ERA 1.40.
They've been sparkling.
A lot of unearned runs for the Mets early in this year, right?
Atchison gets ahead on Polanco with Stanton looming on deck. Stanton has had a couple of soft singles in the game today, but he is the focus of your attention anytime you're in a close ball game late.
It's like Achilles in the walls of Troy.
Exactly. Little pop up. Duda coming on, and he gets there to make the grab to retire Polanco. So Pierre back to first with 1 out, and now here comes Stanton. So how do you approach him at this point in the game, Ronnie?
Well, this is you know, it's interesting you asked that, Gary, because I was just thinking Atchison throws hard, but he's not 90 plus. So you know, the game plan has been that high fastball up and in to get past Stanton, but that's going to be a dangerous pitch when you're only throwing 88 or 89 miles an hour, and he's seen at least 10 of those pitches over the first 2 games.
Buck sets up inside, and the fastball in for a strike.
I just try to stay away from any sliders. Get me over for a strike against Stanton.
So if you're going to throw the slider, you want to bounce it.
Yeah.
Can't quite get that inside corner. 1-1. Well, Stanton had a month of May to remember last year.
Wow.
12 homers, 30 RBIs, 340 average. Anytime you get mentioned with you and Joe D, it's a good mention.
Yeah, we were talking about number 5 with David Wright earlier. That was a pretty good number 5, wasn't it?
That's a number 5 that won't be worn again. And maybe the same will happen with David's number 5.
I have a lot of older friends who have been New Yorkers for years, and when they get on the stories about Joe DiMaggio, they talk about him with such reverence.
One and 1 to Stanton. Again, Buck setting up inside. Little tapper back to Atchison. Nice pickup, but he'll turn down the play at second and get the out at first. Pierre arrives safely at second with 2 out.
Tied him up inside.
On him.
Yes, he did. Pitched him aggressively. Ronnie, I don't think that Atchison went for 2 because I don't think he had a good grip on the ball.
Yeah, that and one, you can see that Atchison's a good fielder. See how he gets to this baseball, and what does he do as soon as he gets to it? He looks to second base. His first thought is, hey, I'm going to try to get a double play. But once he turns, I think you're right. He didn't get a great grip. He wasn't sure of the play. And in yesterday's ball game, Greg Burke went to third base. It cost him an out. He took the safe out at first base.
So Atchison gets a couple of outs. He gets Stanton in a big spot. Now Josh Edgin will come in to try and get Greg Dobbs and get the Mets through this inning with the lead. Call to the bullpen brought to you by Verizon. 3-2 Mets in the 7th. We'll be right back.
Well, you can see the numbers last season, Josh. That's the reason he came into spring training with a job locked up.
Last pitched on Thursday against San Diego. Got a couple of fly ball outs. Brought in here to get one guy. That's Greg Dobbs. With the tying run at second and 2 out. 3-2 New York in the 7th. Dobbs 1 for 3 today. And takes a slider for a strike.
Now, we know we've seen Terry Collins now manage this ball club. He is not a manager that with the rule 7th inning on, guard the line, no doubles. David Wright and Ike off the lines. Look at the outfield defense. Left field Dudo really hugging the line.
Been there all day against Dobbs, who skimmed one between Wright and the line for a run scoring hit back in the first. And the fastball just missed outside. 1-1.
Scary part of this defense for me, and I understand they're going by the book, but lefty-lefty matchup against Dobbs. What is edge and throw Dobbs? It'll be 99% will be middle of the plate away, either a breaking ball or a fastball away. He does not throw inside the left-handers.
Justin Ruggiano would be next. Pierre at second and 2 out. And Dobbs pulls one into right field, a base hit. Here comes Pierre around third. Baxter firing home, and it's up the line. The tying run scores, and then obstruction is going to be called against Pierre running over Buck. And they're going to call the hitter Dobbs out. The run counts. Pierre scored, but then he ran over Buck as Buck was trying to make the throw to second base. So they'll call Dobbs out. The game is tied 3-3.
What in the heck is Pierre doing? You can't do that.
So credit the put out to the catcher on the interference call against Pierre as he took out Buck after crossing the plate. Never seen that before.
Neither have I.
Just stop.
Dobbs with the RBI hit. 3-3 at the 7th inning stretch. Incoming.
Jeez.
This is something we've never seen before.
Right down the middle, outer half fastball. Good hitting by Dobbs. Not another, really not a good throw again by Baxter. I don't know what Pierre's thinking.
I think he just didn't know where to go.
Now, what makes this all possible is that Dobbs really didn't bust down the line. And that's a play, Ronnie, we were talking in between innings here, is that that's the tying run. You bust down the first base, that's an automatic.
Yeah.
Draw the cutoff to get the game tied.
Lucky Buck wasn't injured.
So it's an interference call against Pierre. Buck gets credit for a put out. And that's how an inning comes to an end. So now it's a 3-3 game. Nice's chance for a win is gone. Nolasco is off the hook, and we start from scratch in the bottom of the 7th. Jordani Valdespin batting for Edgin against Ryan Webb, and takes a strike.
And that's the only left-hander off the bench for the Mets today is Valdespin. Everybody else is from the right side.
Valdespin started in center field last night, had 2 hits, a walk, was also hit by a pitch. He was hit a couple of times. He was hit by a pitch, he was hit by a throw. Came out none the worse for wear. Webb got the final 2 outs in the 6th inning, staying on for the 7th in back of Nolasco, who went 5 1/3, allowed 3 runs and 6 hits.
And the Marlins are not guarding the line at all against Valdespin. A tie ball game in the 7th. And both corners are in for the potential bunt. Now Dobbs is going to move back with 2 strikes, but they're not guarding the lines. I'm a firm believer in the tie ball game to play by that rule. Guard the line, no doubles, especially a leadoff hitter.
But what about the idea if you've got a speedy guy at the plate that if he gets a single because you're guarding the lines, he might steal second anyway, and then it's a double.
Then it's incumbent on your pitcher to keep him close. Which the whole idea is keep him out scoring position and keep a double play in order.
Baxter on deck, 2-2 to Valdespin, lifted to center. Ruggiano circling in and makes the grab one away. So Webb's retired all 3 hitters to face him. There's your Mets box score presented by Audi. Big hits belonging to John Buck today. A sacrifice fly and a 2-run double. Buck continues to produce 8 RBIs in the first 5 games, and the Mets and Marlins locked up at 3-3 in the 7th. Here's Baxter getting a chance to start for the first time today. A walk, a single, a run scored. He's 1 for 2. Ryan Webb, whose dad did some pitching here in Flushing. This is low and away. Hank Webb was a pitcher for the Mets back in the mid-70s.
I faced his dad more than a few times.
Well, Hank pitched for a few years for the Mets, but they'll always be remembered for one errant throw in the 25th inning.
Big McBride
scored the winning run in the 25th. Longest night game ever played at the time. September of '74.
What was it, 26?
25.
Yep, 25 innings.
I pinch hit in the 9th off Harry Parker.
And then
I got robbed by Greg Schneck in right field.
Dave Schneck.
Dave Schneck, excuse me. There's a lot of players I played against.
Strike Baxter 3-1. Of course, the longest game in Major League history was 26 innings, but that was a tie. 1920, Brooklyn and Boston. And it's ball 4, and Baxter's on for the 3rd time. His ability to draw a walk is stunning, isn't it? So the Mets get the lead man aboard. Murphy coming up. Let's answer our AT&T trivia question. We asked who was the last Met to wear number 5 before David Wright, and I think it was Tsuyoshi Shinjo.
Yeah. I know that my buddy Mark Johnson wore that number 5, right, but it was before Shinjo.
Ed Charles. But that was a long
the
time
glider.
ago. Jim Beecham, I think, wore number 5.
Jim Beecham, shoot fire.
Beach actually wore 24, and then the Mets acquired Willie Mays, so he had to change his number
Hang with him.
to 5.
Jim Beecham, if I played in the minor leagues at Tulsa with Jim, he used to always say, he was a Southern boy, I think he was Texan. He'd always say, shoot fire hum baby. That was his line. So we called him Shoot Fire.
I'm glad it was something that you could say on TV.
Yeah. Right.
It's not like Joe Schultz, you know.
He walked by. Hey, shoot fire. How you doing?
Brandon Lyon up in the bullpen, getting ready for the 8th inning. Murphy having a rough day at the plate after his 3-run homer last night. He's gone 0 for 3 today. Strikeout, double play ball, and grounded out to third his last time up. There goes Baxter. The throw by Olivo into the runner, goes into center field, and Baxter will go to third. There's a big play. Now the go-ahead run at third with 1 out.
Well, that's what Baxter also brings to the with his game. He is deceptively fast, and he can steal a base. And he has this bag stolen.
He had 5 steals last year. Has his first of this season and continues on to third on Olivo's throwing error. Now the infield comes in for Murphy with a 2-1 count and 1 out. And Murphy strokes one foul, 2-2. Well, the spot where Webb would dearly love a strikeout.
It's going to be tough to get this strikeout. Sinker ball pitcher. This really is the kind of pitcher Murph should really feast on.
2-2. And Murphy taps one toward third, right at the bag with a foul ball, and that's fortunate for Baxter because if it's fair, he's out.
Wow. I mean, you got to get back to the bag, or it's not contact. Boy, oh boy, you're out of an inning right there.
Lucky, because his first move was toward home. Again, the 2-2. Fly ball deep right center. Ruggiano looking up, and that ball is one hop to the wall. Mets regain the lead as Baxter comes in to score. Murphy's trying for 3, and he'll make it easily. An RBI triple for Daniel Murphy. It's 4-3 New York. Now, last night it was a 3-run homer. This time a 400-foot triple for Murphy to put the Mets in front.
Well, this was the right pitch. They wanted to come inside, but a sinker ball pitcher, see how it bleeds out right down the middle. And when I said Daniel should feast off a guy like Webb because he's a sinker ball pitcher, he's going to keep the ball down. Daniel's a good low ball hitter. Nice hitting. Nice job, Baxter.
And now the infield has to stay in for David Wright, with Murphy at third and 1 out. 4-3 New York. Wright is 2 for 3 today. And David hits one the other way, and he'll drive in a run. Murphy comes in to score, and it's 5-3 New York. Third hit of the day for David Wright.
Right down the inner half. Good hitting by David. Now look at that level swing on a belt-high fastball. Very nicely done.
2 pitches that are supposed to be in by Webb. Neither one saw the inside corner.
Well, it all started with Baxter working out a walk, the key stolen base, and then Murphy and Wright with the big hits to put the Mets up 5-3.
Steal a base.
Now Ike Davis is 2 for 3 on the day. Had a hit and run singles last time up, and Webb checks in on Wright.
You got him on the run. Go to the whip. Go to the whip.
Pitcher of record on the long side now for the Mets is Josh Edgin, who faced one batter and gave up a hit. It's just not fair.
That's how it works. That's how they made the rules.
There he goes.
There goes Wright, got a huge jump. The throw by Olivo goes into center field again.
Jeez.
And Wright winds up at third. Second stolen base of the inning for the Mets, and both times Olivo is charged with a throwing error for the extra base.
Although this is not a good play by Echeverria. I mean, he's got to go and get this baseball.
I agree. He's got to get it.
He's trying to make a fantastic swipe play. That play's dead.
Wouldn't have gotten him anyway.
Yes, exactly.
That's a youthful mistake right there. So, hey, got the momentum. Just keep him running.
And so again, the infield has to come in. Now they'll walk Davis intentionally. Chad Quall's up in the bullpen, and they'll go after John Buck instead, which the way Buck has been going, to wonder about that. But it makes sense here. Right-hand hitter on deck, set up the double play. Fifth walk given up by Marlins pitching. They walked 7 last night in their victory. So Buck, who gave the Mets a lead in the 6th inning with a 2-run double, gets another crack here. First and third and 1 out.
Took another sac fly like he had in that first at bat.
Mets have scored twice here in the bottom of the 7th after the Marlins tied it in the top of the inning. Right at third, Davis at first with 1 out. And now Buck getting another crack against a former battery mate in Ryan Webb.
Chance for a big day.
And takes the slider for a strike. Lucas Duda waits on deck. Mets now with 5 runs and 8 hits. The Marlins 3 runs and 10 hits. And Buck drives one down the line, but foul. Man, is he swinging the bat well.
He sure is.
I don't remember him being that quick on the inside fastball, but certainly is in his first 5 games.
Well, he pulled it his last time up.
Got that sinker from Velasco right down the line. That was a big 2-run double right there. Gave the Mets the lead. 8 RBI on the season for this man.
Do a day off tomorrow, but how can you take him out the way he's going? Ball and 2 strikes to Buck. Anthony Recker has yet to get in the game. As Buck has played every inning in these first 5 games.
I just felt like he was going to steal second base there.
Whoa, Nelly.
And so again, induces Webb to throw over. He doesn't get many of those.
Nice swing, good balance.
Well, 3 years ago, he hit 281 for Toronto. Lifts this one shallow right. Wright tags at third. Stanton's got a good arm. Here comes Wright. Here comes the throw from Stanton, and he's safe. He got around the tag. 6-3 New York. 4th RBI of the game for John Buck. As Wright comes home on the short sacrifice fly.
Well, nice judgment by Tough. You're up in this ball game. Take the chance. Add on.
Couple of bookend sacrifice flies here for John Buck. They're going to appeal the play to third base, I believe.
No, he didn't leave early.
He'll step on, then he has to, when the ball is put in play, he has to step off and deliver the ball to Polanco.
And Corey Blaze, with the third base umpire, says that Wright did not leave early.
Oh boy, not even close.
Nice slide by David around the tag, even though it was late.
Here's Duda.
Stanton with a strong arm, but it's up the line. A lot of guys have strong arms, but are they accurate?
by the way, Ike Davis alertly tagging and going to second on that play. So I guess he was serious about getting to second base. Dude has walked twice today, otherwise 0 for 1. Popped up to short back in the first. Mets have scored 3 times here in the 7th, and they lead 6-3. Mets were down 1-0, tied it, down 2-1, went in front of the 6th. Marlins tied it in the top of this inning. But RBIs by Murphy, Wright, and Buck have given the Mets a 3-run lead. Brandon Lyon getting ready to pitch the 8th, and then presumably Bobby Parnell for the 9th. One and 2 to Duda. And that slider miss. 2-2. Lucas has already drawn 6 walks in the first 5 games of the year. A lot of hard work for Ryan Webb. His second outing of the year. And Duda grounds one to the right side. Solano gets over. Side retired. But a big inning for the Mets as they regain the lead. Mike Baxter got it all started by working out a walk, stealing second, and taking off for third. Murphy with a long triple. David Wright drove in a run with a base hit. And Buck with a sacrifice fly. 6-3 New York as we go to the 8th at Citi Field. Colin Cowgill comes in the game to play left field. He'll bat 9th, and Brandon Lyon is on to pitch. He'll hit in the 6th spot on the order.
Well, the Mets were talking all spring training that Brandon Lyon would be the 8th inning man and has a chance here in this ball game.
And once again, we're seeing Terry Collins late with a lead, taking Duda out of left and going for defense.
Justin Rucciano leads off the 8th inning, and he takes a strike. But it raises an interesting question because the Mets had Valdespin in the game. He batted for the pitcher in the last half inning. You could have left Valdespin in to play left field, but instead Terry opting for Cowgill. And I think it's interesting as we go through the first week of the season, seeing how Terry uses his outfielders in various positions, whether it's leading off in the batting order, late innings for defense, who he feels comfortable with in different spots.
Well, I think that you've got more experienced outfielders in Cowgill and Neuenhuis out there. Valdespin, even though he used an extra man now. You got a 3-run lead with 2 innings to go. You want your best defense out there. Valdespin is not an outfielder by trade. He's a second baseman. So this late in the ball game, go out there with a 3-run lead. You go with your best defense,
and you go with experience. Kyle Gill's been an outfielder his entire career, and I'll even throw this spin on it. I think that
strikes out Rucciano.
I think that Terry Collins feels as though if Valdespin is going to be in the outfield, he's better in center field than any of the corner positions, because safety sometimes can be tougher. So I think that's the thing. And Neuenhuis, of course, is a step up from Valdespin in center field.
So what you've got is you've got a collection of outfielders, and you've got 6 of them on this team, right? If you include Valdespin in that, who all have, they're all flawed in some way, but they all have different things that they bring to the table.
Depending on the game, defensively or offensively, is going to determine who is playing and who's not.
I mean, think about what's happened these last 2 days with Valdespin leading off yesterday. He got on base 4 times. Baxter leading off today, gets on base 3 times. Makes the big play with the stolen base to help you get the go-ahead run.
Scores 2 runs today, too.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's not, you know, the Atlanta Braves outfield. You don't have 2 Uptons and a Hayward, but you try and get the most out of what you got. Hit sharply and a base hit for Olivo, his 2nd hit of the game. He had a breaking ball that time. 1 out and 1 on. That's 11 hits now for Miami.
Well, we hear this phrase sometimes, go back to your outfield, bullpen by committee. The Mets could be an outfield by committee this season.
Now Echeverria, who's been on base twice with an infield hit and a walk. He's 1 for 2. And Lyon just misses outside. Third outing for Brandon Lyon, who worked a 1-2-3 inning against San Diego on Thursday. Again, just missing 2-0. Donovan Solano, the number 8 hitter, waits on deck. SNY Super Slow Motion is brought to you by your Mercedes-Benz Tri-State dealers. Visit them on the web at searchmercedes.com. Two and 1 to Echeverria. Grounded to third. Right backs off. Gets the out at second. Murphy with the turn, but no chance to get Echeverria at first. So that's the 2nd out of the inning.
Could have put this in your pocket. No chance to get the runner at first base.
No, not when David's playing back deep for second and opted for the long hop. And once David backed up here, it lengthened the play out, and there was really no chance to get 2. Nice maneuver by Murph there.
Looked good and super slow.
Yeah.
Didn't it? Like, well, I won't say that. I was going to say it looked like Nuria, but nah.
Maybe Barishnikov. Donovan Solano 1 for 3 today, and a base hit back in the 4th. Chris Coughlin has come out on deck. He'll pinch hit if Solano can keep the inning going. There's Coughlin, the former National League Rookie of the Year. Lions 1-1. And Solano fouls it at the plate.
That was a strange play by Solano. It was a foul ball, but then without, I mean, the umpire called it right away, but then he swatted at the baseball while it was still in the air.
And while Buck was pursuing it.
Yeah.
Sox had enough incidental contact today. Now the 1-2. And he checks his swing and stops it in time. 2-2. Brandon Line, now 33 years old, started out in Toronto, went to Boston, Arizona, Detroit, Houston, finished last year in Toronto, where he had started his career. Good year last year, 67 games between Houston and Toronto. Throws strikes. Developed his curveball as his career has gone along. Maybe not as hard a thrower as he was when he first came up.
It's interesting when you watch him pitch. He'll throw that slider to the right-handed hitters, the curveball to the left-handed hitters.
Echeverria will take off with 3-2 and 2 down. And Solano goes down on strikes. Lyon with a couple of strikeouts in the 8th inning. Mets will come up in the bottom of the 8th, up 6-3. Brought to you by Cholula Hot Sauce, the flavorful hot sauce with the iconic wooden cap. By Tri Honda, hurry to your local Tri Honda dealer for great deals on the 2013 models. And by Verizon Fios. Chad Qualls, who gave up a 3-run homer to Daniel Murphy last night, will come back and pitch this afternoon.
Well, you can see his numbers from last season. Chad Qualls was through his great years in Houston and Arizona, a guy that had a great sinking fastball, got a lot of ground balls, but later in his career here, he's been giving up more home runs.
Kirk Neuenhuis will lead off for New York in the bottom of the 8th. Mets were down 1-0, down 2-1, ahead 3-2, tied up in the 7th, and then the Mets put up a 3 spot in that 7th inning to go in front 6-3. Bobby Parnell getting ready to try and secure it in the 9th as Neuenhuis tries to butt his way on and fouls it off.
I like that play. Maybe adding to his repertoire in the offensive department for Neuenhuis. He's got great speed.
Kirk is 0 for 3 today. Flied out, lined out, hit into a fielder's choice. That second at bat, Stanton robbed him with a nice sliding catch in right field. Ruben Tejada on deck, then Colin Cowgill for the Mets here in the bottom of the 8th. Mets trying to go back over 500 for the season. think Shin Soo Choo is happy to leave Cleveland and go to Cincinnati. He just hit his 3rd home run of the year. That's a great home run hitter's ballpark. 1-2 to Neuenhuis. The Nats were up 5-1 in that game. It's now 5-4 in the bottom of the 9th.
1 out, nobody on.
Choo's had some difficulties off the field, but I do have to say he's one of the more underrated players in the game.
The only thing is they're asking him to play center.
Yeah.
And how well that's going to go, I don't know. 1-2. Neuenhuis tries to lay off the slider, and he stopped it in time. 2-2. But Cincinnati looks like a powerhouse team in that division.
I like the Reds.
And I like the fact that they left Chapman in the bullpen. That was a disaster waiting to happen. Hit hard, but foul.
Well,
I just don't understand the indecision.
Well, you know, there's been a couple of organizations that have tried to do that. Texas Rangers tried to do it with Neftali Feliz. He was so good in the bullpen as their closer. They took him out of there, and he hurt his elbow. And Chapman, I know Dusty Baker wanted him to stay there because what you want on a team is some definites. Who do we have that we don't have to worry about? Well, Chapman you don't have to worry about when he's closing games.
And it's not like the Reds don't have quality starting pitching. Strike 3 called. Neuenhuis goes down looking for the first down. I mean, with arms like Johnny Cueto and Matt Latos at the head of that rotation, Bronson Arroyo, who's still pitching effectively in his mid to late 30s. What's this conversation
I don't know
about?
what. Very interesting conversation. Now, Jim Joyce walking towards the Florida dugout. He wants to talk to the manager.
Jim likes to be field general, doesn't he?
This is not about the dugout. This is about something else, about something on the field. I don't know if it's the background that Qualls is pitching into, something on the backstop.
Well, I see Olivo trying to move someone from behind, telling them to move over.
Could be someone with a mirror or I mean, all sorts of things, you know, light or something that's bothering Qualls.
Well, by the way, if it's bothering him, he should stay with it. He got a strikeout there.
So security will try and take care of whatever the problem is. Meanwhile, Qualls will go after Ruben Tejada. Ruben's rough start to the season continues. 0 for 3 at the plate. Another error in the field today. And that slider got away. 1-0. Colin Cowgill, who came into the game for defense, hitting 9th in the order, is waiting on deck. Echeverria near the bag. Throws out Tejada, 2 away. Tomorrow, the rubber game of this 3-game series, or the final game. We presume the rubber game if the Mets win this one. 12:30 tomorrow right here on SNY. And it's going to be entertaining because we'll get a look at Aaron Laffey, who will make his first start for the Mets, left-hander. And we'll also see Jose Fernandez, who makes his major league debut for the Marlins. 20-year-old top prospect for Miami. And they say it's going to be a little warmer tomorrow, which can't be a bad thing.
Oh, man.
Here's Cowgill up for the first time in the game. Started the first 3 games of the season in center field. Coming out late for defense in this one, and he takes a strike. Cowgill about the grand slam on opening day, just 2 for 12 at the plate. Fly ball deep left field. Back goes Pierre onto the warning track at the wall. It's out of here. Wow. Colin Cowgill with his 2nd home run. And it's 7-3 New York. I'll tell you what, this little guy has got some serious power.
Hanging slider.
He's coming off the bench on a cold day.
Well, he hit just 2 major league home runs coming into this season. Now he's got 2 in the first week.
Well, right there, belt high, hanging breaking ball, covers it nicely. Pierre just runs out of room.
Well, the Mets hit their first home run in this game. They've now homered in each of their first 5 games. First time they've done that since 1999. And Cowgill responsible for the Grand Slam opening day, and now an insurance run here. As Baxter grounds one to Solano at second base. That'll do it for the Mets in the bottom of the 8th, but Colin Cowgill extends the lead. Cowgill's second home run makes it 7-3 New York going to the 9th. Chris Coghlan will pinch hit for the Marlins. Let's check in with Kevin. Between innings, Jim Joyce came into the Mets dugout. You see him talking to Terry Collins there. And I remember he had gone over to the security people the last half inning, so I have no idea what this is all about.
And it really was brought to his attention by Chad Qualls and Miguel Olivo, the battery mates of the Miami Marlins.
So it's obviously a concern with something in the stands or something, but the question is, why is that something that he'd have to relay to the Mets dugout?
Well, it's either, like you said, it's either someone in the stands or obviously Qualls and Olivo did not like what was going on back there, but
Bobby Parnell in to try and close it out for the Mets. Not in a save situation here with the Mets now with a 4-run lead. And he's fallen behind the pinch hitter Chris Coghlan, 3-0. And There's a strike. Let's check in with Kevin.
Think about Bobby Parnell, guys, right? I mean, what got him drafted, what got him to the big leagues was his arm, his ability to throw 100 miles an hour. So imagine last year trying to kind of forget about that and dial down that fastball, something he had never had to do, as that count now goes to 3-2. That was a big part of why he took the next step besides that knuckle curve, is the ability to change speeds on his fastball. He said, yeah, you know, the focus really went from just velocity to kind of taking control of the at-bats. I wouldn't really let it go, meaning throw the real hard stuff until 2 strikes, and I think it really was to my advantage. Guys told me to watch tapes of guys like John Smoltz, guys like that who change speeds all the time, and there the fastball works. Strike out at 97 miles an hour. Gary, back to you.
So Parnell works his way back from 3-0 to strike out Coghlan to start the ninth. Now Juan Pierre has been on base 3 times today, 2 singles, a walk. He scored 2 of the 3 Marlins runs, but then was involved in that bizarre play that ended the 7th inning. He scored the tying run on a base hit by Greg Dobbs, but as he scored, he ran into John Buck, who was getting set to throw to second to try and get Dobbs advancing. And the interference play, the call against Pierre, ended that inning. The Mets then went out the next half inning, scored 3 runs, and took the lead.
Never saw that happen in my life.
Really?
Never. But Pierre running into the catcher.
The only play I can remember close to that I was involved in the first game of the World Series, a ground ball for Rich Gebben went through Tuffle's legs. Jim Rice was scoring, and as I was going to cover first, I had to hightail it and come cover home, back up home. Well, as I was running, I did not see Dave Henderson, who was going to tell Jim Rice whether to slide or not, out behind Gary Carter, and he and I hit head first into each other. He was down, I was down. Jim Rice scored the only run in that game.
But there was no call.
No call, yeah. No interference. Just ugly.
Stroke to shortstop. Tejada on the backhand. And makes the accurate throw to get Pierre 2 men down. Geico Sports Night, the only show that's only New York sports tonight. The Final Four in Atlanta. The Nets are home, and we'll take you around the National League East as well. Geico Sports Night tonight starting at 10:30 only on SNY. By the way, speaking of the NL East, the Nats blew a 4-run lead. It's now 5-5 with Cincinnati going to the 10th. Sin-Shu Chu hit the home run, and then Joey Votto tripled and scored on a Rafael Soriano wild pitch to tie that game in the bottom of the ninth.
Shirt tails still in, obviously.
Yeah, I guess. Here's Polanco with the Marlins down to their final out. Josh Edgin is pitcher of record on the long side despite not retiring a batter. It's a nice quirk. Brandon Lyon pitched the 8th, and now Parnell trying to finish it up as he evens the count on Polanco 1-1. Mets haven't had a save opportunity yet this year, but Parnell trying to get the last 3 outs to secure a win and even up this series. And now he's ahead on Polanco 1-2.
There's that curveball.
That's nasty.
Yeah, it is.
Now the 1-2. Off the glove of Parnell. Tejada with the bare hand. Throw. Got him. Ball game's over. Well, Tejada, who has struggled, made a pretty play there to throw out Polanco, finishing off a 1-2-3 inning for Parnell and giving the Mets the 7-3 win as the Mets even up the series with the Marlins at a game apiece.
Well, the comfort behind wins are always the sweetest, and the Mets coming back a day game after a night game and a loss last night. Nice play by Tejada on the run throw. Just got him. Nice little cheat by Ike. But lots of good things happening today. The Mets bang out 9 hits. Ike Davis, I think, kind of got a couple hits today. That's a good thing. Remember, he was off to a tough start. Buck, the big hitting star again. 4 RBI for him. He now has 8 on the season. David Wright, a 3 for 4 also.
Solid job by the bullpen, and again now 32 innings. The Mets starters have only given up 5 earned runs as Jonathan Neese was outstanding today. Good job by Scott Atchison, and Parnell closes it out.
Colin Cowgill added a home run for the icing on the cake as the Mets win it 7-3. For every Mets win, the Mets Foundation is proud to contribute $2,500 to the Katz Institute for Women's Health. For more information, visit northshorelij.com/KIWH. Mets now 3-2 on the year as they beat the Marlins 7-3. Back with more from Citi Field in just a moment.